Death Howl released in December of 2025 for Steam and currently retails for $20 US. It's a deck building game with a lot of Souls-like aspects to its gameplay. But please note that I received a Steam key from the developer for this review, but the thoughts and opinions I present are my own. Also, this game is super hard, and after 10 hours I was only at the second map, which is only a fraction of the total gameplay. So, is Death Howl worth picking up on Steam? This review is going to answer that question. Let's begin the review, as we always do, by discussing the graphics and technical performance of Death Howl on Steam. For graphics, there's no graphical options available, so you basically have full screen or windowed full screen, I believe, by default. So anyone who enjoys trying a few different graphical options, Death Howl doesn't have any of that. But the game doesn't require a high-end PC, and everyone should be able to run it at a stable 60 FPS with no issues. Technical performance is good, with no bugs or crashes. Moving on, let's discuss the story of Death Howl. As I said at the start of the review, I didn't beat this game, which is normally something I try to do for every review. So please do keep that in mind throughout this video. The story of Death Howl has a simple premise. You play as a woman named Ro, who is searching for her son, who's a fawn or a small deer. Her son died, and she has gone looking for him in the spirit world to bring him back to life. This explains why everything in the world she's exploring is a bit strange, and she meets spirits along the way, some helping her and many trying to attack. I wish I could say the story had a wonderful conclusion, but I just don't know. What I did get to experience was emotional and strange, depressing and weird. But that brings me to the gameplay section of the review, and the reason why I didn't beat Death Howl. This game is super hard. It's difficult in a way that is both time-consuming and very grindy, which may be a plus to some players and a turn-off for others. Death Howl is a deck-building game where you have to defeat enemies to gain resources to craft new cards for your deck. Each card requires two types of resources, usually one found from dead enemies and the other found just laying about in the world, and a death howl that you get from spirits of slain enemies. The game lets you start with a standard set of cards, ones that you can use in any map, but each map then limits you in the type of cards you can use. For example, you can use the standard starting cards anywhere, but if you want to use cards from, say, the forest map, you need to craft those cards. And then they can be used in the forest area, but if you take them outside of that area, they're going to be more expensive to play. This means that you're basically building new decks in every area, and the cost is insane. I spent 10 hours playing Death Howl, and most of that time was spent grinding against the same enemies in the same spot for resources and Death Howls to build a deck. After all that time, I beat that map and moved on to the next map, only to find that all my hard work was useless. The cards that I crafted cost more to play in the next area, and it's basically a reset, making you regrind against new enemies to build your deck again. I would estimate that just based on my experience, Death Howl should take you either 40 or even 50 hours to beat, depending on how much you grind, which is a lot of playtime, but also a lot of grinding in the same spot. You need Death Howls from enemies to craft cards, but you also collect them at this game's versions of Dark Souls bonfires to give Ro upgrades, like more damage or temporary cards from slain enemies. But again, these upgrades are only good for that specific map. Go to the next map and you need to restart all that over again. So Death Howl is a grind, a beautiful, haunting, soulful grind. So is it worth $20 US? Well, you'll get your money's worth, but whether you enjoy it or not depends on how much you accept the grind. And trying over and over again against the same enemies to try to find a way to kill them, dying repeatedly on each attempt. I'm the Casual Console Gamer on YouTube, and I'll see you all in the next review.